Good morning, everyone. I'm Larry Green, a member of your parish committee. We are pleased that you are here online or in person in our beautiful sanctuary. I would like to extend a special welcome to any visitors that we may have. Our mission is to build community, search for meaning, deepen our spirituality, and work together to make a better world. To learn more about First Parish or Unitarian Universalism, please visit uuwayland.org or contact Kate Holland, Director of Lifespan Education and Engagement. You can also reach out to a member of the parish committee, such as myself, or to Reverend Stephanie, if you have any ideas or questions about First Parish. A big thanks to all of our other service participants whose names are listed in the order of service. Please note that Middlesex County currently has a medium risk for COVID, so we recommend that people mask. Any service participant that unmasks has tested negative for COVID this morning. Please join me now in taking a moment to say hello to one another, and including a wave to the front camera up here to those online. A reminder that today the nominating committee, excuse me, is holding, oh, wrong, delete that. Guess that was last week. Anyway, and now we have an announcement from Dan Lewis and Robert Waswa about the Uganda project.
Hello, I'm Robert Waswa.
And I'm Dan Lewis.
And we are members of the Uganda project in First Parish.
Since 2018, the Uganda Project has worked with volunteers from First Parish and with Ugandans locally to gather useful donated goods and to ship them for distribution to those who can benefit in Uganda. The many boxes of bedding, towels, clothing, shoes, books, games, and household items that we've been able to share have made a difference in the lives of many people far away.
This past year, First Parish held a new concert called Spring Up, at which we played games, enjoyed picnic foods, both Ugandan and American food, and collected gently used items from First Parish contributors.
We were able last spring at Spring Up to fill 5 book boxes and 8 enormous wardrobe boxes, boxes big enough to hold both Robert and me with room to spare. And those boxes were shipped, not with Robert and me in them, over to Kampala this summer, and were distributed in mid and northeast Uganda.
We welcome you to help us celebrate the success of this past year's efforts, and we thank you for generosity, your volunteerism, and your support. Come join us in viewing the slideshows on display in Commons after service, and partaking of a lovely coffee hour, cake decorated in colors of the Uganda flag.
Yes, the Uganda Project members of First Parish want to thank all of you and want to thank the Lydia Mariah Child Foundation for making these efforts possible. If you'd like to be involved with the Uganda Project, contact Barbara, Dan, Robert, Ted, or Maria, and we'll let you know more about that. If you're viewing from online today, the slideshow link will be posted in the chat. Thank you very much.
After a week of difficult headlines, once again, it is good to be here together. Our opening words come from Eric Walker Wickstrom. We come together this morning because within us there is something that knows we need more than we can find in our aloneness. We know instinctively in the depths of ourselves that we need others for the journey of life, even though we also guard our independence and individuality quite jealously. So let us all celebrate what makes us unique, yet also all that makes us one. And let us dream dreams of all that we can do together. I now invite the Cullen family to come forward to light our chalice, symbol of Unitarian Universalism, and the covenant, which are the promises we make of how to be together and what brings us together.
Good morning. Please join me as we say together, with open minds and loving hearts, we gather to search for meaning, to care for one another, and to work together for a better world.
And I'm excited to welcome Peter Lavenson and friend, I'm sorry, I don't know your name yet, to help lead us in music today. Peter had reached out to me a couple months ago about Circle Song, something that he's been doing to lead, to bring people together, the many people together into one voice. So thank you, Peter, for singing and leading our singing.
I took this test this morning. It said I'm negative and grumpy, sarcastic and blue. So I figured I'd be all right here, because I got a negative test. Om Namah, Om Namah, Shivaya, Shivaya, Om Namah, Om Namah, Shivaya. Om Namah, Om Namah, Shivaya, Shivaya. Om Namah, Om Namah, Shivaya. As I am, may I trust in this world and be free as I am in this world. To relax us, to calm us, to get closer to the soul. So the first part is Om Namah Shivaya. Let's sing it together, shall we? Om Namah Shivaya, Shivaya. Shivaya. Yeah, that's right. Let's try it again. Om Namah Shivaya, Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. All right, loud enough so it goes into the microphone. Om Namah Shivaya, Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. All right, let's hear the choir. Om Namah Shivaya, Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Yeah, let's try that again all together. Om Namah Shivaya, Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. As I am, may I trust in this world and be free as I am in this world. As I am, as I am, as I am, as I am. May I trust in this world and be free as I am in this world. Om Namah, Om Namah, Om Namah Shivaya, Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. It's a beautiful thing. Om Namah Shivaya, Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Any of you have ever taken a yoga class, sometimes they say Om 3 times. And he had the Namaste, which means the light in me honors the light in you. All right, one more time. Om Namah Shivaya, Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya, Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya.
Thank you, that was beautiful. So, good morning. My name is Kate Holland. I'm the Director of Lifespan Education and Engagement here at First Parish, and I use she, her pronouns. This morning, I have a story to share with you, and it starts in a farmer's field. So one day, the farmer is walking the field and looking around, and in the corner of his field, he sees what looks like a pumpkin. He goes, I think one of my pumpkins jumped the patch and ended up in the corner. So he walks closer and closer, and he sees an orange thing sticking out of the ground about this big, and realizes it's a carrot, not a pumpkin. It's the hugest carrot he's ever seen. And he's excited. He's like, wow, I could take this to the state farm and people would be amazed. So he decides he's going to pick it. And he grabs a hold of the green part at the top, and he pulls, and he pulls, and it won't come out. Well, while he's pulling on that carrot, the milkman who was down the way, is coming to deliver his milk, and he sees in the field, and he's like, huh, what's he doing? And so he walks over to the farmer and says, hey, what's up? And the farmer says, look, it's an enormous carrot, and I can't get it out of the ground. And he says, well, let me see if I can help you. So the milkman grabs the farmer by the hips, and he pulls, and the farmer pulls, and they pull, and it's not going anywhere. It's just stuck. Luckily, the woman that owns the poultry farm down the road was walking around, and she saw what was going on in the corner and said, huh, that's pretty strange. And she walks over and she says, hey, what are you guys up to? And they say, there's this enormous carrot, and it's stuck. It won't come out of the ground. I can help. So she grabs the hips of the person in front of her, who grabs the hips of the farmer, and they all, 1, 2, 3, pull! It doesn't move. It doesn't move. This is the most stubborn carrot ever made by anyone. So, luckily, the dairyman is there, and he decides he's going to help too. And so he grabs the person in front's hips, and they grab the person in front's hip, and they grab, there's 4 people holding on to hips, holding on to the carrot, and they pull, and they pull again, and finally the carrot goes bloop, and it comes out of the ground. The farmer is so excited to see this enormous carrot, and so thankful that his neighbors came and helped him out. He said, come to my house for dinner. Let's celebrate together. I want to thank you all for the help that you gave me. So they did. They came to dinner that night, and there was beautiful beef stew made from the farmer's cows, and there was beautiful salad, and there was a nice quiche from the eggs from the woman that owned the poultry farm. And they were wonderful dinner guests. And everyone had a great conversation, and it was really lovely. And at the end, when everyone seemed finished, the farmer went in and brought out a carrot cake. And he said, my friends, this carrot cake reminds me of all of us. I have some flour from the miller down the road. I have eggs from the woman in the poultry farm. I have milk and cheese from the farmer that has the cows down the road. And all of those things together make something wonderful and just like all of us together work together to get the carrot that made the carrot cake. So I love this because it reminds us that while all of us can do some beautiful things, sometimes we need the help of each other to make things come out that are even bigger than us, to help us make things different. So I'm going to ask all of you to sing out our Seek Kids, and we're going to go downstairs. Also, it is a day where we are on computers, so I'm going to ask you if you are on a phone or on an iPad in the sanctuary to please turn it off so that we can all share our internet. Thank you.
Leave your bloodstains on the wall. Leave your tears on the floor. Put your shoes by the bed and open the door. Walk outside, feel the earth on your feet. Let the air fill your lungs. Let your body reach and just breathe. Just breathe. Can you sing that with me? Just breathe. Just breathe. We can feel the wind, feel the sun in the sky. When we choose to live, we don't choose to die. We can look at darkness, look at fear and at pain. When we do, our shadows burst into flames and we sing. We sing. Can you sing that with me? We sing. We sing. We sing. Come on. We sing. We sing. We sing. We sing. Sometimes I lay in my bed, curled up like a child. Sometimes I don't know whether to cry or to smile. Sometimes I can't feel my soul where I belong. I just have to let it work out in a song. So I sing. I sing. What do I do? I see, I see, I see, I see. Come on, you can do it louder than that. I see. I see, I see, yeah. You know, in Buddhism, they say that there's some things that just are. Not for judgment, they just exist. Sickness, sadness, emotion, death. It's just what they are. And happiness, well, happiness is accepting what is. No judgment, just observation. That's what I love about breathing. I mean, heck, how can you judge breathing? Have you ever heard somebody sit around and go, oh my gosh, that breathing thing? So I want you to try something with me. It's called 4-7-8 breathing. We go in on 4, hold your breath for 7, and out for 8. Are you brave? All right, here we go. Hold for 7. Out for 8. Try one more time. In for 7. 8 out. Leave your bloodstains on the wall, leave your tears on the floor, put your shoes by the bed and open the door. Walk outside, feel the earth on your feet, let the air fill your lungs, let your body reach and just breathe. Just breathe. Please stand if you can to join me with this. This last one, we're going to all breathe out and breathe in because we're alive and we're here right now, and this is such a gift. Just breathe. Just breathe. Oh, that's beautiful. Just breathe. Just breathe. What do you do when you're sad? Just breathe. Just breathe. What do you do when your mind's going crazy? Just breathe. Just breathe. Just breathe. Just breathe. Just breathe. Just breathe. Thank you.
Thank you so much to Peter and Leslie. That was amazing. My name is Alyssa Lee. I'm the ministerial intern here at First Parish, and my pronouns are she or they. And I invite you to join me in the spirit of prayer or meditation. As Peter said, let's take a deep breath in. Let's just breathe. A deep breath out. One more breath in, please. And out. Spirit of love and connection. For many of us watching the news this past few weeks, especially in the past day, has been heartbreaking. It may have left many of us wondering, how are things ever going to change? How do we find and hold on to the good in this world? But then we come here to places like First Parish, and we're reminded of the beauty of song and the joy of singing together, of simply being with one another. What it feels like, as the song said, to feel the earth under us and the breath in our lungs, that we can choose to live. We are reminded that we are surrounded by a community that will travel with us throughout life's many peaks and valleys. That we have made the choice again and again to be part of something bigger, to lean into the grace of one another, to have a place to belong. May we remember that when we travel afar, whether physically or emotionally, we always have a pew waiting for us, people that care, in a place that we can bring our delights and our burdens, or where we can simply be, where we can join together in song or in the quiet stillness. Blessed be. I now invite you to take a few moments to sit in that quiet stillness, to breathe out the stresses and anxieties of this past week, and feel the support of the community we have created here together.
Lynn Morrison, one of the lay ministers of this congregation. This is the time in the service we set aside to share our joys and our sorrows. In both our sharing and in our listening and being present, we affirm our covenant to care for one another. To begin, I will light a candle of sorrow for the loss of Tyre Nichols, who was killed by the police in Memphis. We mourn with those who loved him. I will also light a candle of joy for a full First Parish calendar and the signs of a vibrant and active community here in Wayland. If you have a joy or sorrow that you would like to share, please either add it into the chat if you are with us online, or come forward to share if you're here in the sanctuary. As a reminder, you may also submit a joy or a sorrow in writing using the slips that are at each of our doors. Please note that we are not currently live streaming this service, and joys and sorrows will not be posted in the service recording that's posted on YouTube.
Susan, I'm so grateful for the beautiful music we had today. It's just really meaningful, and it really hit me. I appreciate it. And I'm so grateful for all the beautiful music we have every week. It's just, it's wonderful, and it's such a gift to get to come here every day, or every week, and hear that. So when you support First Parish with an offering, you also support this wonderful music program that we have. You can provide your support by donating online by going to www.uuwayland.org/donate. You can also look for other methods in your order of service. You can also provide a gift in the baskets that are being passed around. And we will now gratefully receive the offering. Thank you.
And if you notice, the lyrics were written by Ralph Waldo Emerson, who also wrote our reading, which is an excerpt from an essay, The Oversoul, written in 1841. And I had heard that the Oversoul came from Hindu ideas. And so I wanted to challenge myself to read Emerson's essay. And this is an excerpt, and it will mostly make sense. Man is a stream whose source is hidden. Our being is descending into us from we know not whence. I am constrained every moment to acknowledge a higher origin for events than the will I call mine. As with events, so it is with thoughts. When I watch that flowing river, rich out of regions I see not, pours for a season into its streams into me, I see that I am a pensioner, not a cause, but a surprised spectator of this ethereal water, that I desire and look up and put myself in the attitude of reception, but from some alien energy the visions come. The supreme critic on the errors of the past and the present, and the only prophet of that which must be, is that great nature in which we rest. As the earth lies in the soft arms of the atmosphere, that unity, that oversoul, within which every man's particular being is contained and made one with all other. We live in succession, in division, in parts and particles. Meantime, within man is the soul of the whole, the wise silence, the universal beauty, to which every part and particle is equally related, the eternal one. We see the world piece by piece as the sun, the moon, the animal, the tree, but the whole, of which these are the shining parts, is the soul. Are we many or are we one? This is an ancient philosophical question which I believe still has the power to shake and sort our sense of who we are and our place in the world. It's a question that matters for how we understand the differences and the connections among us. So are we many or are we one? Sitting here in this sanctuary and watching online, we are aware that we are not alone. There are many of us in this shared space, and we differ. We've dressed differently, we vary in age, we bring particular experiences, skills, knowledge, and perspectives. We are many. And yet we are also one in human nature, right? But what does it mean to be human? What do we share? An essential nature? A set of unique capacities like reason? Or perhaps an infinite, immortal soul? In teaching about the many and the one, philosophers ask us to think about a cloud in a blue sky. From a distance here on the ground, the cloud is one thing, a cloud. But a cloud is far from a solid, singular entity, comprised of many, many water droplets. The edges of a cloud are, in fact, hard to define. When does the density of the water particles cease to become cloud and instead become sky? When does a cloud cease to become one thing? This same question of determining the boundaries of a single entity appears again and again, and not just as a philosophical question. The question of the many and the one can be a matter of belonging, equity, and even survival. It is a question whose answers determine how we understand our relationship to one another. In what ways are we the same or are we different? And how do we treat those who are the same as us or different than us? As part of our year of encountering difference through world religions, we have been exploring Hinduism this month. As I suggested a few weeks ago, we might speak of the Hindu traditions in the plural, because there is not a clean, clear boundary defining what is a Hindu. As renowned religion scholar Wendy Doniger writes, although there are a number of things that have been characteristic of many Hindus over the ages, the worship of many gods, belief in karma and rebirth, and in the caste system, none have been true of all Hindus. What we need instead of a definitive list of shared factors, therefore, is something more like a Venn diagram, a set of intersecting circles of concepts, beliefs, and practices, some of which are held and done by some Hindus, others by other Hindus, and still others shared not only by Hindus, but also by members of other South Asian religions, such as Buddhism or Jainism, end quote. Doniger characterizes the Hindu traditions as holding both a recognizable shape and real differences. Admittedly, as someone with very little knowledge of Hinduism, the panoply of divine images, colors, holidays, and rituals has sometimes felt overwhelming to me, and perhaps to you as well. Or could the difficulty lie just in the unfamiliarity of the names, the stories, the relationships, and their meaning? Because while many of us may be unfamiliar with the principal deities, stories, and practices within Hinduism, I suspect at least some of us could readily explain the complex stories and characters in Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, Game of Thrones, or another series that is meaningful to us. So perhaps we are familiar with navigating complex systems of many, many parts. And yet, how often do we seek to simplify the complex, to find the unifying thread within the disparate fragments? How often do we seek to transform the many into a one? In an essay entitled Are Hindus Monotheists or Polytheists?, Doniger begins with a line from the ancient Rig Veda. The wise speak of what is one in many ways. The wise speak of what is one in many ways. In using this verse, Doniger anticipates her argument that, like Hinduism itself, the theism answer may not be a simple either or. Tracing the historical record, Doniger argues for the presence of both polytheism and, yes, a kind of monotheism in Hinduism, often existing side by side. There is undoubtedly the polytheistic presence of many different deities within Hindu texts, including in the early Vedas. And yet Doniger follows Vedic scholar Max Mueller in also noting the practice of a, quote, serial monotheism, like serial dating, serial monogamy, serial monotheism, in which a series of gods are worshipped one at a time, each as the supreme or even the only God, while talking to that God. Then, in the later texts of the philosophical Upanishads, Doniger traces what she describes as monism, the idea that all living beings are elements of a single universal being, often called Brahman. However, even when the idea of a universal Brahman exists, Hindus speak more of the god Shiva or Vishnu or a particular local form of the same in religious practices at a temple and at worship. In other words, even when there is a belief that all deities are part of one nature, the Brahman, the experience of that divinity manifests in many ways and religious practices. The many and the one. Perhaps sometimes the answer does not have to be just one or the other. Perhaps sometimes the answer can be both. Doniger continues her question of polytheism and monotheism in Hinduism by raising questions about the impact of British colonialism on the religious landscape of India. And her telling the British Christian bias towards monotheism led the British to be more comfortable with the monotheistic Muslims in India. In this political context, pressure to highlight the monotheistic elements within Hinduism emerged. For example, the Bhagavad Gita, with its emphasis on Vishnu as Lord Krishna, supreme being, became seen as akin to the Christian Bible as a religious evolution that moved Hinduism in the direction of monotheism. In discussing these dynamics, Doniger particularly notes the influence of Ram Mohan Roy, who lived 1772 to 1833. Casting aside Hindu polytheism for monotheism, Roy's sources for his reformed vision of Hinduism, Brahmo Samaj, included Unitarian Christianity. Roy even traveled to England where he interacted with British Unitarians. There is a statue of Roy in Bristol, England today. Furthermore, according to Doniger, the influence of Brahmo Samaj expanded into other reforms in Hinduism that are embraced to this day. Even as Unitarian Christianity helped Roy to develop his monotheistic version of Hinduism, Ralph Waldo Emerson was widely reading Hindu sacred texts from the Vedas to the Bhagavad Gita. While not directly citing Roy, Emerson was clearly aware of Roy's work, whose translation of the Upanishads Emerson read in 1820. Today's reading from Emerson's essay, The Oversoul, shows this influence. Drawing on the Hindu idea of every soul or Atman as part of the Brahman, Emerson likewise conveys a sense of a shared soul, an eternal one of which each human is a part. In Emerson's conception, this shared oneness of an individual soul with the Oversoul means that each person is capable of direct religious experience. Indeed, for Emerson, such direct religious experience bears more religious truth than any words or texts of any religious tradition. If we are each part of the Oversoul, then it is through direct religious experience of our own sublime encounters with truth and beauty that the eternal light appears. This is the Emerson that eschews religious form for lived experience. Just a few years before writing The Oversoul in 1841, Emerson delivered an address to the 1838 graduating class of Harvard Divinity School. In this address, he denounces formal Christian worship to a bunch of brand new ministers as spiritually lifeless, extolling the would-be ministers to listen first to the experience of life and beauty to inspire awe and worship. Emerson's Divinity School address, as you might imagine, sparked a debate within Unitarian Christianity. And nearly 2 centuries later, we inhabit the outcome of that debate. We continue to gather in formal religious service, while also embracing direct religious experience as valid and a good source of spiritual insight. It is always dangerous for a preacher to reference Emerson's Divinity School address in a sermon. Inevitably, I have to ask if this sermon is living up to Emerson's call to those new ministers to not kill the experience of truth with leaden words. So let me try again to say why I think the questions of the many and the one matter so much in life. As cultural and religious inheritors of a monotheistic Christian tradition, I think our bias is to seek the one. We like unifying theories that bring together all the parts in a nice, neat package. Even Emerson is essentially doing this in how he embraces the Hindu ideas of the Brahman to argue for an oversoul for which we are all a part. But we live in a world of the many, which is to say that our world is full of differences of religion, racial identity, gender expression, ethnicity, and much, much more. In the face of such diversity, one strategy is to find the common ground, the element of sameness that connects us across difference. Such strategies have merit when they enable us to connect with the fullness of another's humanity, such as when we say Black Lives Matter to emphasize that Black folks are fully human. But such efforts at unity and sameness can also backfire by eliding very real and powerful differences among us, such as those who would say all lives matter, without wrestling with the reality that within this nation, Black lives have not and still do not matter in the ways that white lives matter. The more I have learned about the differences among us as humans, I have become increasingly convinced of the merit of models of pluralism and multiculturalism. Such models seek to retain awareness of the many differences, even as we learn how to live across difference. Like the resplendent variety of life in the animal and plant world, retaining an emphasis on human diversity and difference enables the possibility of wonder and joy. By exploring the theme of encountering difference this year, my hope is that we deepen our capacity to live within a world of many. I hope we learn how to appreciate, if not always fully understand, the ways we differ from each other. And I hope that we strengthen our capacity to navigate conflicting points of view, an inevitable aspect of being among those who are not all the same. We are not all alike, not within this congregation, not within the wider communities where we live, and not within the nation or globe which we share. In my benediction each week, I call us to live out our values in a shared world. The phrase shared world emerges from the term planetarity, which I learned in grad school. Coined by Indian scholar Gayatri Spivak, it is an academic term used to convey the ethical questions of being rooted to the planet and to the living beings of this world, a shared world. Our one world that we share with a glorious diversity of many expressions of life. I do not know whether or not we share one immortal nature with all beings, but I do know that we live here and now on this shared planet with all manner of people and other creatures. In short, we share one planet with many beings. As we live in this shared world, may we have the courage to embrace both the one planet and its many beings as we seek to live values of inclusive love and equitable justice. So may it be. Amen. Our closing hymn is from the Teal Hymnal 1052, The Oneness of Everything. Please rise, or body or in spirit, as we sing together. Just a reminder, there is cake and a slideshow for the Uganda Project to celebrate down in the Commons. Coffee is in the kitchen. Sustained by our connections to each other and to all that is holy, let us go and be beyond these walls, bringing more light and life, love and justice to our shared world. Amen.